His name is Kael Rimor, call sign Sidus. He was born on Saisei in the Centauri system. A quiet world, orderly, predictable. But Kael was never meant to stay still. He was raised between two callings. His father, Kael Rimor, served as a senior systems architect for Aegis defense systems. He believed every ship was more than steel and thrust, that a vessel was an ecosystem, and every component carried intention. He taught Kael that distance could be mastered, but only through preparation. His mother, Dr. Sorel Naji Rimor, was an exoecologist with Consolidated Outland. She studied worlds that weren't finished yet, biospheres still deciding what they wanted to become. From her, Kael learned that discovery isn't chaos. It's structure waiting to be understood. Precision, patience, purpose, those weren't ideals. They were expectations. Somewhere between their disciplines, his obsession took root. The Oratani system, a system erased from charts, lost to fragmented records and conflicting reports, written off as myth, misnavigation, or worse, quietly forgotten. But some absences leave echoes, and Kael has spent his life listening for them. You don't search for something like Oratani alone because it's easy. You do it because it's necessary. But necessity doesn't make it safe. Every step forward in the verse demands preparation. And the verse doesn't care about intent. Ships break, plans fracture, people disappear. So Kael gears up like he won't get a second chance. Because maybe he won't. Armor rated for vacuum, radiation, and ground engagement. Not because he expects a fight, but because he respects uncertainty. Tools meant for salvage, defense, and survival. Weapons he hopes he won't need. Supplies he knows he will. This is what building from nothing looks like. Not banners, not speeches, just readiness. The Polaris is too much ship for one person. Everyone says that, and maybe they're right. The Polaris rested silent beneath a pale sky, its hull catching the first light of dawn like an old war relic waking from a long sleep. Kael moved along the ramp in measured steps, the cold air biting at his breath as he prepared the ship for another solitary run to microTech. His version of camping, the old-fashioned way. Well, as old-fashioned as you can get in 2955. Just a lone founder and the quiet company of machines built for survival.
Welcome to the ASOP Vehicle Retrieval System. Your vehicle has been
The ATLS
delivered
Geo
following
went first. Rugged ground engineering frame built for excavation and terrain shaping. Heavy stabilizers, reinforced manipulator arms, designed to wrest order from hostile terrain. As its weight settled into the Polaris cargo bay, Kael's thoughts drifted, not to microTech, but to Oratani. A system discovered, then sealed away by collapse and silence. A K-type star, a handful of unremarkable worlds, only one worth reshaping. And over 2,000 terraformers who vanished at the jump point. He locked the ATLS into place, then returned to the ramp. Next came the RSI Ursa rover. Compact armor plating, twin-axle stability, modular rear storage, built for reconnaissance and extraction.
Welcome to Robert Space Industries. Enjoy the ride. System check.
It rolled up the ramp like an anchor of reliability. If anything in the verse felt dependable, it was the Ursa. Kael paused beside it. What did they rely on out there? Food shortages, unrest, a backlog of promises from Turia terraforming. He wondered whether the colonists on Oratani ever felt like he did now, alone in purpose, carrying more responsibility than felt fair, yet unable to turn away from the work. He exhaled and moved on. He loaded the Drake Dragonfly next.
Your vehicle has been delivered to the following location.
Compact hovercraft. Light frame, twin-engine flight stabilizers, a scout's escape route, the kind of vehicle that slipped between the edges of trouble before trouble noticed it was there. Quick, gun-armored, free. He envied it a little. And then the Tumbril Cyclone. Wide stance suspension.
Towing land systems. System check.
Rear-mounted cargo rack. Shock-resistant chassis for high-speed traversal through uncertain terrain. The kind of craft you brought when you expected the land to fight back. The Rock DS followed. Dual-seat mining platform. Extended ore storage.
Systems activating.
Articulated drill for dense resource clusters. Not glamorous, not heroic, but necessary. The kind of machine that kept small operations alive when no one else showed up to help. It clamped into its berth beside the Ursa. Kael checked power readings, then stared for a quiet moment into the dim cargo hold. If anyone in Oratani had survived, would their descendants still be mining the bones of worlds? Or did the silence swallow them all? As the final clamp engaged, the bay lights dimmed to operational standby. Every machine had a purpose. Every purpose implied a risk. He took one last look across the hold, a tiny fleet inside a single ship. Enough to explore, enough to adapt, enough to disappear quietly if fate required it. Microtech waited. Quiet mountains, frost blue light. A place to think, like the old Earth wanderers who vanished into forests and deserts just to hear themselves breathe. Kael stepped toward the cockpit, not as a commander of an org, but as a man who builds alone and prepares for anyone and anything. The Polaris lifted, its engines humming softly against the silence. Somewhere in a dark corner of the verse, a collapsed jump point waited. And Kael couldn't shake the feeling that one day, the door to Oratani would open again. Until then, he would lean into the journey as hard as he could. The course was set, a straight line through Stanton's cold blue light. Crusader shrinking behind him as the Polaris slipped into quantum. The jump would take time. Kael headed down to the cargo bay, then finally let himself out of the armor, out of the hard plates and sealed helmet, out of the weight he wore when danger felt close. He pulled on softer clothes, a t-shirt and polymer trousers, the kind meant for walking inside a ship rather than fighting outside it. Inside the Polaris, he could afford to be human again. As he walked forward from the cargo decks, the vessel unfolded around him the way old memories do. Decks of corridors and bulkheads, weapons racks and reinforced struts, missile bays tucked beneath armored panels, twin hangars sealed and dormant behind him, power relays pulsing beneath the deck plating. The Polaris was built like his father, unyielding, protective, made to take punishment so others didn't have to. He ran his eyes along the cold railing as he passed the central column, feeling the vibration of the engines through the metal. He remembered being small once, his father's voice explaining redundancies, shielding, repair cycles, why nothing on a ship ever worked alone. Unlike Kael. And lately, that weight felt different. Engineering was changing. Everyone in the Stanton Commons had been talking about it. New UEE safety mandates rolling out across capital-class vessels, fire suppression standards, structural hazard protocols, maintenance readiness certifications, entirely new expectations. They called it crew integrity regulation. But Kael had his suspicions. Thousands of UEE-funded engineering cadets, government training programs, subsidized academies, graduates with nowhere to work once they realized most independent captains ran skeleton crews. And suddenly, a mandate that made solo operation increasingly unrealistic. No accidents, they said, no unnecessary casualties, no ship left unprotected when fire breaks containment. It didn't feel like protection, it felt like pressure. Hire the crew, or the law will eventually make you. He didn't disagree with the idea of engineers on board. He just wasn't ready to need them. Not yet. But the verse didn't wait for anyone. The forward glass opened around him just as he walked on the bridge. The vast arc of microTech dominating the sky, clouds folding over oceans and frozen continents. Quiet. He guided the Polaris down through the upper atmosphere. The hull shuddering softly until the ice blue faded into dense evergreen forest and shadowed valleys. The sunlight broke across the canopy in long silver bands, and the mountains rose jagged and ancient in the distance. He found a clearing and settled the ship into the grass, engines winding down as the world exhaled around him. Kael stepped out onto the metal threshold, cool wind brushing against his face. He stood there for a long moment without moving. Tomorrow there would be terrain to map, vehicles to deploy, systems to test, maybe storms to fight through. But tonight, there was only the quiet. Kael watched the sun slip down through the trees, the Polaris settling into stillness, and he knew, despite everything changing, he wasn't turning back. Not now. Not ever. The journey continued,